Don't be afraid. My friend said this to me once while trying to get me to try karaoke. Her words had no effect. I remain convinced that I would rather be digested over days by an anaconda than spend 5 minutes singing "I Will Survive" to a room full of strangers. Don't be afraid is one of Jesus' favorite phrases, but it's easier said than done. Fear is hard to control. In the young adult novel Divergent, characters navigate a simulated obstacle course that confronts them one by one with each of their greatest fears. And we've all got them. Failure, flying, public speaking, cancer, clowns, phone trees, phone calls, people who still make phone calls, sharks. Never mind that 100 times more people each year are killed by hippo. Add hippo to the list. Fear serves a useful purpose. It helps us assess our risks, and it spikes our adrenaline so that when the hippo charges, we can at least outrun our lazy cousin. The trouble is, our entire lives can easily become one giant fear landscape. Our fears become mountains surrounding us on every side. The moment their shadow falls over us, we stop and go no further. Jesus starts a conversation with his disciples about fear, about the ways that fear can derail their life's mission, can keep them from being the evil disruptors and truth tellers and healers and freedom riders that he's inviting them to be. Every mission that matters comes with risks. It can cost money, comfort, reputation, relationships, even physical safety. This isn't about fearing sharks while you're swimming in Lake Erie. The risks of living a life of purpose, of signing on for God's rescue mission, are real. So how does a person turn down the dial of fear so that it doesn't determine the limits of their story? Well, there are 2 tried and true antidotes to fear, and Jesus touches on both. One antidote to fear is to get a better fear that disciplines the rest. I'm afraid of initiating hard conversations, but I'm more afraid of losing my job if I fail to address a growing problem. In every action film, there's a lawyer who's afraid of breaking the law and going to prison, but it turns out he's more afraid of what the local mob boss will do to his legs or even his dog if he doesn't help cover the crime. Bigger fears outcompete smaller ones. Jesus boldly suggests that there's one fear that keeps the rest of the fears in check: the fear of God. Any old person can call you names, or lie about you online, or burn down your house even. But as Jesus points out, the moment that your heart stops, so do their options for causing you trouble. Only one person in the universe has the power to follow you over the threshold of death. At this point, you might be thinking, this is getting a little scary. Jesus, are you threatening us? You think Al Capone was bad? Wait till you get a load of God. But I don't think Jesus' point is to make God look like a monster who busts up souls instead of kneecaps. I don't think that's the point, because right after Jesus observes that God is the only one worth fearing, he immediately goes on to describe God as a birder. A lot could be said about birders, but I've never heard a preacher try to strike terror into the hearts of men by saying, "See how God cradles each of those itty-bitty birdies? See how he feeds them and gives each one of them a name? You'd better know, you're worth even more to God than they are." It's hard to be frightened of a God whose relationship with birds resembles Cinderella's. In fact, the flow of Jesus' argument is something more like this. God is the only one truly worth fearing, and God is a big bird lover. So really, just don't be afraid. One antidote to fear is bigger fears. The other antidote is love. Have you ever met the kid of a powerful parent who is totally confident in their parents' care for them? Those kids are a hazard. There's no telling what they might do. They do not know fear like normal people, because they know that there's nowhere they could end up in the world that their parent won't come for them. There's nothing they could lose that their parent can't replace. Here, in a nutshell, is Jesus' 2-part fear mitigation strategy: greater love and better fears. Let's start with love. Nothing can get to you that doesn't have to go through God. And a God who treasures sparrows will never abandon one of his kids. Bad things can happen when you're on mission, but nothing can happen that can stop God from coming to reclaim us and restore us and refill us in the end. Being loved by a parent this powerful relativizes all the risks. And second, let's talk about fear. Jesus doesn't bring up the fear of God to make God look terrifying. He does it to highlight the comparative smallness of the fears that often control our lives. We fear a bit of mockery. We fear missing a few meals. We fear failing or missing out. Such small fears in the scheme of things, but they can end up controlling our lives. Jesus suggests trying on some better fears. Fear living into a lie. Fear becoming a lie. Fear backing down before the breakthrough comes. Fear letting fear steal your mission, your purpose, your role in the most epic rescue story ever told. Fear making evil's day by staying home under your bed. Let's hear what Jesus has to say in Luke 12, verses 1 to 12. Meanwhile, the crowds grew until thousands were milling about and stepping on each other. Jesus turned first to his disciples and warned them, "Beware of the yeast of the Pharisees, their hypocrisy. The time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. Whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the rooftops for all to hear." Dear friends, don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body, for they cannot do any more to you after that. But I'll tell you whom to fear. Fear God, who has the power to kill you and then throw you into hell. Yes, he's the one to fear. What is the price of 5 sparrows? 2 copper coins? Yet God does not forget a single one of them, and the very hairs in your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are much more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. I tell you the truth, everyone who acknowledges me publicly here on earth, the Son of Man will also acknowledge in the presence of God's angels. But anyone who denies me here on earth will be denied before God's angels. Anyone who speaks against the Son of Man can be forgiven, but anyone who blasphemes the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven. And when you're brought to trial in the synagogues and before the rulers and authorities, don't worry about how to defend yourself or what to say, for the Holy Spirit will teach you at that time what needs to be said. I'm Megan Larissa Good, and this has been Reading Jesus. Thanks so much for joining me for a few minutes in Luke, and I'll see you next time.